All right, Mr. Prasad, we saw the notice on social media this morning, Stabroek News' announcement. What can you tell us at this time?
Well, it's a very unfortunate thing because for nearly 40 years, we are 39 plus, Stabroek News has delivered independent news as a newspaper that was fearless, was a non-advocacy newspaper. That is, it didn't pick one party or the other, and that will sadly come to an end. It's come to an end because of a change in market conditions. Newspapers all around the world are facing this crisis. You would know yourself that just last month, Newsday in Trinidad folded as a result of the collapse of advertising and subscription revenues and the general difficulty in the market. You know, the market is now dominated by social media and digitalization. There are so many free openings for people to gather news. So we have battled with that for about 5 years, and we've looked at the options, you know, trying to go partly digital, probably maintain some part of the print run. We considered all of the options, but at the end of the day, there was nothing that really stood out as providing long-term security. A lot of digital revenues is what you call ephemeral. It's here today and gone tomorrow, and you can't really sort of be sure that it's going to be there. So we had to make a tough decision. And in the light and in the mode of our being an independent newspaper, what you want to do is to leave with dignity. We want to leave on our feet rather than live on our knees, beholden to anybody, and to have to sort of like to be in that position. So unfortunately, our stint as an independent newspaper has come to an end, but it is very important that this job be continued by others who are in the media. It's clear that it's all going to be social media driven these days, but the role that Stabroek News played between 1986 and now needs to be played by others because accountability is very important in society, and that is something that we have to do. I will of course point out that people may say that this huge debt that is owed by the government to Stabroek News was a factor in this. Now, it wasn't necessarily a factor in the newspaper making the decision to close. That is, even if DPI had paid us on time, we still would have been under stress because of the change in the markets. But what the debt from DPI, I think, signified was clearly an undue and unacceptable attempt by the government to pressure independent media. And so I think in our exit, that is what the society has to take account of, that we have a government in place that is not indisposed to using financial pressures to target independent media that they'd like to close. Fortunately, that's not what has closed us. It's just a general trends in the markets and so on. But clearly, this government does need to be held accountable by whatever remains in the future. And we are very grateful. I don't think we could say enough about the people who've supported us over 39 years. The vendors, subscribers, all of the employees who've been here. This has been a magnificent journey, and we are grateful for it, and we're grateful that we had the opportunity to do what we did. And we leave with contentment, and we leave with an assurance that we have contributed to making governments accountable and to allowing people to be able to vent their views and to ensure that the public was aware of where it stood.
This is a complete closure of the company that includes the online version too?
Yes, the entire thing, Stabroek News, has come to an end. So this is going to go into voluntary liquidation. A liquidator is going to be appointed, and at that stage, the company closes entirely.
Mr. Prasad, how many staff you're looking at, both in the newsroom, the print, and all of that?
So as of now, we have 60 staff who will now be without jobs, and we made it clear to the staff today. The chairman spoke to the staff. All of the benefits that are owing to the staff will be paid. The newspaper is solvent, is in a position to meet all of its obligations to staff in terms of severance and in terms of unpaid leave and in terms of other things. We also have a pension scheme that everybody is subscribed to. That pension scheme, we are going to be having discussions with ensuring that all of the benefits and pensions that are due to staff will be paid once the pension scheme can make its arrangements.
Did you see a trend in advertising over the couple of years? I mean, I must talk about the Prime News experience where people were saying they simply could not advertise with us. They wanted to, but they could not advertise with us, and they opted not to secure their own, whatever. What have you seen with the advertising trends? Was it that the market was shrinking overall, or what was going on?
Yeah, clearly what has happened is a lot of the private advertising has migrated to social media. At any one time when the newspaper was thriving, the three main private sector suppliers of ads were Quartz, Digicel, and GTT. If you have maybe like one ad from Quartz each month, that's a lot. If you have like 1 7x3 from Digicel a month, that's a lot. Same with GTT, but at the height and the peak of the advertising regime, we used to have multiple ads on a daily basis for all three, and regularly, and of course for other companies in the private sector, banks, CIH, DDL, and so on. Quite a lot of their advertising is migrated online, so you don't have that, and so you're left essentially with statutory state advertising, the occasional financial statements from the banks, which have to go into a newspaper. You have legal notices and so on. So the collapse of the advertising market has been a serious issue. And there may be some advertisers who did not advertise because they didn't want to be seen to be affiliated with Stabroek News, because that might put them out of favor with the government. But generally, what happened here was that over time, both the advertising and the subscription market fell away because people were so engrossed in on their phones and what they can see in live real time. Newspapers can only provide the next day 24 hours after, and that became obsolete. So it's just really a complete shift in the way the market operates, and that's really hard.
And the birth of Stabroek News by Hannah Benjamin, she does go into the birth of Stabroek News, the challenges to get newsprint, and a couple of other events that happen. You have been here as a journalist, now editor-in-chief. What are some of the memories you're going to take with you?
Oh, so those would definitely have to be all of the late nights trying to sort of track, the major stories. I was just pointing out to the South before, during the crime wave, that crime spree after the Camp Street prison break. Those years were very difficult, and for reporters, because that's really where I was in charge of. The work that reporters had to do as it relates to trying to track cases, going out in the middle of the night. I think there were a couple of reporters, Samantha was at one time one of those who came under gunfire during a siege at one of the street corners and so on. So those events, trying to plot the three massacres that occurred during that period, the great flood that we had in 2005, reporters having to leave their flooded homes to go to cover flooding in other places, being completely uncaring of what they'd left at home, having to go and make that sort of commitment. Those things stand out. We worked through the entire COVID period. We did not close a day. We did not lay off anybody. We worked every single day in office, going out, fully masked, fully protected. Those commitments sort of are the things that stick, and they stand out in terms of the impact we've made. The other thing about this newspaper, which I think is the last thing, and you won't be able to sort of to go without it, is how we were able to allow people to have their say in the newspaper on a daily basis. Our letter columns had no compare or comparison anywhere. And so people could write every day about what it is they felt moved by. And those letters moved decision makers. When decision makers read the newspapers, they were instantly asked, why is this here about a pipe for GWI, or why is this street clogged, or whatever it is. So that ability to be able to give readers some sort of like instant satisfaction on the problems that they raised was something that was very gratifying. A lot of people used to write about their NIS pensions and payments not being made. When the NIS PRO would see those, they'd get on right away. I need to get in contact with that person. Those things outside of the larger framework of trying to hold a society accountable and free expression and so on, those things are really the things that mean the most. That is, when you can help somebody who feels powerless in the system to get to where they'd like to go, that's priceless.
What happens to your library? You had a very, very good
Oh,
library here.
So all those things have to be preserved. Our libraries have we have 2 copies of what you call bound volumes, which are an exact replica of all of the papers that we printed. Those have to be kept. Newspapers operate on the basis that we must have 2 copies of all of those. We have 1 copy in the premises here. We have another copy in another part. Those are going to be preserved. We have our digital archive, which goes back more than 20 years. That has to be preserved. We find a way to make sure that that is done, so it's available to all resources and other people who would like to see. So all those things we intend to keep and to find a way to make sure they're there for posterity and that other people have access to them over the years.
Okay.
Mr. Masson, was any consideration given to reduce operations to the minimum given the digital era that we're in? So you operate basically only online, minimal staff, minimal electricity costs.
Yeah, so that was one of the options that was broached over the last couple of years. So we've looked at all of that. That is, at some stage we were considering that we would only print on Sundays and do a digital version. But when we sort of considered the market, the fact that circulation had fallen so significantly, the sense of printing 1 edition and maintaining staff just for that would make no sense. So then the other consideration was, would you then say go print a Kaituran News and ask them to charge you for that and whatever it is? All of those things would have had a series of other ramifications. You're coinciding with your print time, there's a hassle to get it done, they can't print you. So there were going to be difficulties, but at the end of it all, the ultimate thing would have been, were we in a position to be able to gather sufficient revenue over a sustained period to keep it going? The chairman addressed today and did point out that for the last 10 years, we've had 4 profit years, which were okay, but 6 were either break even or in the loss position. So we've trialed this for a long time in terms of trying to figure out what was the best way to continue, because we wanted to ensure that we were there. We never laid off an employee until we've come to this point where we are closing. We never laid off an employee because the bottom line was difficult. We found ways to cut corners, and by attrition, we would let people go and then fill gaps in other ways. But we never laid off. So we considered very carefully all of the options. And one has to understand that this is a private company with shareholders who are expecting, they're not expecting massive profits. This newspaper didn't start as all to generate profits and whatever it is. It started to be able to function in a free press environment. But there comes a time when shareholders will say, well, I can't sustain these losses anymore. This eats into shareholders' money, and we're shareholders. We're not expecting that you're going to find massive profits for us, but at the end of the day, we can't sustain losses because we've invested here and we expect to get some sort of return in it. So the Carey's family, which has been the major shareholder, they've decided that this is the period that them and the other shareholders will be able to take account of the period that we've run for 39 years. And I've got to say, this is a proud thing for us. We operated as a small company on our own without any kind of largesse from other companies. We were not part of a bigger group. We did have an affiliation with DirecTV, which was an associated company for some time, and we did have some revenue from there, but we were a small company and we ran completely on our earnings over the time, right? Nobody provided any kind of subvention, whatever it is, and we were very proud not to take anything from other people outside, because the minute you begin taking, you lose your independence. And even today I see there's a campaign that has been mounted by media groups close to the PPP, saying that a newspaper has been in the pay of a certain politician and so on. Very scurrilous and scandalous, but again, it shows how this government has to be watched very carefully, because they're not averse to employing all of those techniques. But Stabroek News has a very proud reputation and legacy of operating on its own earnings and ensuring that it remains fully independent. And that, I think, is something that we are proud to go out on that note.
And lastly, Mr. Bassard, do you think that the changing geopolitical environment has caused, entities such as yours, especially in the case of Guyana, to fall through the cracks as it is now? I mean, do you think so? Given its origins
Yeah.
and its original seed financing, do you believe that the geopolitical environment has partly contributed to this?
Yeah, I don't know that it may have. I mean, seed financing is usually something that really starts you up on the way, but I think the larger issue is really just a general state of newspapering in the country. If you look at the US, I mean, that market has also been decimated. So it has very little to do with how geopolitics might have affected that market. It's just simply people do not go to buy a newspaper in the morning anymore. Very few people do that. The subscriber base for most newspapers these days are the oldest customers. Those are the customers who are dying or migrating and better educated. Younger readers are just not buying newspapers because they're not accustomed to that. What they're accustomed to do is picking up their phone or their tablet in the morning and scrolling, and that is really the thing. So I think that's really the major factor. I don't think geopolitics go that far in terms of isolating us. I think really we become the victims of the market.
What's your circulation now?
Well, at the height of our circulation, we were printing on the Sundays around 42,000 copies, right? And the daily had gotten up to about 17 or 18,000. So the Sunday paper would have come down to about 7 or 8,000, and that takes account of online subscribers and so on. And the daily is below that. So some days, you're talking about 4 or 5 around that. So it has fallen. Everybody has fallen. Everybody in the newspaper world here has fallen. They're all grappling with that too. So it is a fact of life. This is how it's come, and it's not only here. You're seeing it all across the parts of the Caribbean.
Did the shareholders leave any slack door open for any restart in a different format?
No, that discussion is not happening at all. The company as it is, Guyana Publications Inc., is going to be liquidated. Any future consideration of anything else that comes is for others who might be associated, but nothing at all associated with the company.
Your last print was today, or is it tomorrow?
No, our final print is going to be March 15th.
March 15th.
Yes.
Oh.
We're running for another month. It's going to be a Sunday edition because Sunday has always been our flagship.
Yeah.
And it's going to be perhaps a bumper edition and a kind of a reminiscence on some of the things that we've done and so on. So we're working towards March 15th, and that's
March
going to be
15th.
our last edition. Yes.
Thank you so much, Mr.
Sure,
Prasad.
thank you. Yeah.